Well, so what was your experience with it?
Well, okay, so I was raised in church, so I just was taught these things for as far back as I can remember. You know, that these are the things, these are the Christian things, you know, and one of them was not having sex till you're married. And so I pretty much clung to that up until because what happened when we did our thing, I really don't know how to refer to it. I guess I'm afraid.
What we did.
Yeah. I'm afraid of what people will think, and I need to stop that. When we had an affair, it pretty much shook my beliefs to the core, because it's like, well, now I'm not here. Now I'm not doing all this stuff. I mean, that was the most involved in church that I've ever been. So even though I was involved in church, that was the most involved I'd ever been, and the most manipulated I'd ever been. So I really tried to be a pure person. Well, not that I'm not trying to be a pure person now. I tried to be the not having sex before marriage person for my whole life. And I mean, I don't really want to go into the details on here because my mom watches this, but
I did, but that's fine.
I know. Good for you. You're better than me.
Well, my mom knows everything. So.
Right. I pretty much, in my mind, when I first crossed that line and the times after that, I would think to myself and pray to God along the lines of like, well, this is the person, so it's okay. Like, I'm going to marry them. I know I'm going to marry them. I love them. You know, they love me. I mean, this is it. And I just was never really with anybody that I didn't feel like I was in love with. So to me, it was always like, okay, well, like, you know, like this might not be good, but it might be okay because I'm going to marry them. And,
but I'm the only one you married.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm the only one it's okay with.
Yeah. So there were a lot of times where that was a very big inner struggle, you know, like guilt feelings or shame or I blew it. I mean, when something's built up that much, you know, like this is the ultimate good thing you can attain to, and it's also the ultimate failure you can have. I feel like, you know, it's what inevitably you feel like.
Yeah.
And it's like after that point, it's like, damn, I'm dirty.
Right.
I'm messed up. Can't undo that. You know, and that's right. You can't undo that. I guess my opinion about purity has, like everything else, been very much in question since we got together. You know, I don't know that I necessarily think it's a bad thing. It's in question right now. I'm really I feel like I'm really trying to, I guess, decide what I believe about that. And I think it's such a struggle because of how many years of like indoctrination that I'm trying to that I have to sift through, like with everything else. You know, just my like Robert was talking about what Jesus looks like.
Yeah.
At our church, the pastor was talking about the pictures of Jesus that you saw growing up on your grandparents' wall and stuff. And every country has a different
portrait
looking Jesus, and so now it's like, what the hell does the guy look like? You know, it's like that. It's like okay, well, I just believed in this so strongly, and then when you don't adhere to that, you have to like navigate that in your head. You know, I guess the point I'm trying to make is that purity culture in church really is very unhelpful. Let's just take the church we were at, for example, Remedy Life Church. What happened? People would come in, whether they were in a relationship or not in a relationship, they pretty much had to go through several hoops before they were even possibly considered to be eligible for a relationship that could lead to marriage, that could lead to having sex. And that in and of itself is just overwhelming. It's just too much. It's like, that's none of your fucking business. That's none of your business. The church should be there to help people along in their life. You don't invite yourself into people's business. You don't invite yourself into people's beliefs. Like, you're there to be Jesus, to be helpful, to be a witness or whatever, not to be nosy, not to be like, let me tell you how to behave and then get mad at you when you don't behave that way.
Right.
It's just insane, you know? I honestly feel like we keep touching on this, but I feel like church Christians are really so much like the government nowadays. It's like we don't think you can handle that by yourself. Let me help you. Freedom is just the best thing. Freedom is the best thing across the board because just look at little kids. When you don't let them explore, when you don't let them what? Did you have a thought?
No, I was just thinking about Arrow.
Yeah. When if you pretty much almost any time that you tell them not to do something, it's upsetting.
Yeah.
They want to do something and they really should be able to do that thing. You know, if we didn't have to go to work and make money and do all this different stuff that like you have to do in life, it might be a lot easier to just let her go about and explore the world while we just observe and make sure just when she falls off of the jungle gym, she doesn't break anything, you know, but we're not going to stop her. We shouldn't stop her from climbing on things. I'm kind of like talking to myself right now. I'm really controlling in that way. See, I'm a total hypocrite, so fuck off. But at least I can recognize that.
Right.
And I feel like churches need to recognize that. They should say like, okay, I can see how now this person is sneaking around because we were too controlling about their purity. We should have just left that up to them. You know, I can see now how now you don't feel like you're even free to talk openly about what you're doing to get wisdom and insight that you might benefit from. So now it's even worse for you. So that's what I think it is. I think when it comes to sex and purity, well, for one, sex before marriage is an impurity, right? According to Jesus, thinking about it is doing it, right? So I think the amount of pressure and rules that the church imposes on people in regards to sex and stuff makes them scatterbrained. It makes you scatterbrained. It's like, oh, I know I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm horny. So it's very conflicting.
Yeah.
You know, whereas it's like if you're a fucking grown ass man and you see some girl that you like, it's like, all right, well, how long do you think you can go without like doing the deed? Okay, cool. Well, we'll do the best we can. Let's set a marriage date because you we want to listen to what your internals are telling you're able to handle and withstand, right? I mean, how helpful would that be? Not that you should go around just marrying people because you want to have sex with them, but just an alternate perspective, you know?
Well, I have other alternate perspective as well. I feel like a lot of Christians who are trying to save themselves from marriage or they're recommitting to saving themselves to being with this person, they jump into marriage too quickly because they feel like they're really horny and they're like, okay, well, we can't do it until we get married and I like you, you like me, we love each other, right? And then they just get married and then they have
very interesting
a bunch of problems, which I feel like is exactly what happened to me because with my ex, I feel like I know we both had sex before we met each other, but we didn't have sex with each other until we got married. And I guess what I want to say about that is that, in my opinion, I feel like it's better to have sex with somebody than to get married to the wrong person.
That's really interesting. Also while you're talking, I'm thinking so you were saying it's possibly better to just have sex before you get married, instead of getting committed to somebody legally and all that other stuff that comes along with that. And then now having to dismantle that because I don't like you at all. Right.
Yes, because I feel like when you're dating somebody as a Christian, you decide to not have sex before you get married. I see time and time again, they tend to get married too quickly.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that happens with every single Christian who gets married who doesn't have sex,
right?
But especially the ones who have had sex before and then do that, get married without having sex with their current partner. I feel like typically they're both just really horny and want to do it, and they're overlooking some of these other things, other issues that come up, and they're like, well, like, you know, it's okay. Oh, we'll just, you know, because in marriage, of course, you still have to work on things, but if you love who that person is, like, to the core, and love their flaws also, it's a lot easier to work through those things than it is if you're, like, just really horny.
Yeah. Well, here's another thing too. Like, what does the Bible itself really say about not having sex before marriage? Right? Mm-hmm. It says a man, you know, leaves his mother and father and cleaves to his wife, and the two become one. That's not saying that he wasn't getting it on before that, right? I don't think it does. And then the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not commit adultery. Well, what's adultery? Is adultery just having sex before marriage, or is that having sex with someone that's married?
Right.
You know, because, you know, obviously that's bad, but is just having sex before marriage adultery? And Jesus saying, like, if you look at a woman lustfully, you've already committed adultery with her in your heart, you know, like that type of stuff. Like, you get into like these details and stuff, and but I feel like church people just want to make it so cut and dry, mm-hmm. and they're afraid God's going to judge them if they don't lead this person to do something right, and if they make a mistake, well, then I'm partly liable for their sin,
right?
And I'm going to get judged for that. I really feel like
I'm going to have a lesser place in heaven if I tell you it's okay to have sex.
Not even just a lesser place in heaven, but like you're going to be judged. You're going to be like, God's going to be harsh to you in some way because you committed to being a leader, and now you have all this responsibility now for other people not stumbling. And I feel like, you know, that's another way that just the Bible just gets so misconstrued. And how in our church, you know, people really behaved as like a subliminal motivation that I'm going to micromanage you into oblivion, mm-hmm. because I can't let you make a mistake.
Right.
I can't be your leader and then be responsible for you sinning, mm-hmm. walking around sinning, you know, running amok. Like, I feel like that was something that our pastors were neurotic about there. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, we're like taking on this responsibility, and the Bible says, like, you know, for those in authority, like they get like doubly judged or whatever it says, you know, mm-hmm. like that superseded common sense and like normal behavior towards other people that you love.
Right.
You behave a certain way because you love somebody. When you behave a certain way towards somebody because of religion, it's just bound to be messed up anyway.
Yeah. I think my final thoughts on this would be that it's highly individualized, just how everyone's relationship with God is individual. And do I look back and say, wow, I wish I would have only had sex with you? Yes, I do, because I think I genuinely think it's better to have that physical soul connection with one person, and I see the benefit of that. But when you get into very serious relationships in high school and in college, I just don't think that is realistic for every single person. And when you shame people for doing that, that just makes them want to run away from church, like I did for a while. And I don't think that that's a helpful solution.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to feel like you need to do things secretly because your church is going to intervene in your life and tell your mom and all your friends and demote you in leadership and whatever. I don't know. I just think micromanaging never leads to anything good. I think if you can somehow like extrapolate the benefits of being pure and inspire others to do that, that's totally different. Mm-hmm. And it has nothing to do with you controlling them or intervening in their life when they do something that you think is not the best thing. Mm-hmm. It's nothing to do with that.
Right.
You know, like when somebody pays someone to be a personal coach or a personal trainer and you eat too many calories in one day, that person isn't going to like jump your shit over it. You invited them into that situation of your life. And it's the same with church, I guess, you know, like, well, it should be. This is a really interesting topic. I feel like there's such a plethora of different opinions about it. Mm-hmm. So tell us what you guys think in the comments, like what's been your experience with purity culture in church or sex and religion, or not. Thank you for checking out the Church Podcast. Please like and subscribe to our channel. To support the channel, go to patreon.com/The Church Podcast. If you have any information or an idea that could improve the Church Podcast, please leave a comment or leave a private message through our social accounts. Take care.